Ambassador Zethkalar stood on the bridge of his massive diplomatic ship, staring at the small blue planet in the distance. His crystalline body pulsed with different colors as he thought about the mission ahead. For over 3,000 years, he had delivered surrender demands to stubborn species across the galaxy. This was supposed to be simple. The Galactic Council's ship was enormous. It stretched for miles, covered in glowing symbols that showed the power of 10,000 different alien races. Every part of it was designed to make other species feel small and helpless. The hull was made from materials that could survive the birth of stars. The weapons could destroy entire moons. Everything about the ship screamed one message: surrender or die. Zethkalar picked up the surrender document one more time. He had written it himself, using the standard format that had worked on countless worlds before Earth. The terms were clear and harsh. Humans would give up all their weapons. They would stop all space travel. They would become farmers on their own planet, while the Council watched over them like children. It was the same deal every stubborn species eventually accepted. "Sir, we're ready to send the message," said his aide, a small creature with too many eyes. "Good. Send it to their planetary leaders. Give them exactly 24 of their hours to respond," Zethkalar said. The message shot toward Earth at faster than light speed. It contained the surrender terms, along with detailed scans showing the power of the Council's ship. Usually, primitive species took one look at the massive vessel and begged for mercy within minutes. Zethkalar waited and waited. 18 hours passed. No response from any government on Earth. No panicked messages from their military leaders. No desperate pleas for more time. Nothing. "Sir, perhaps their communication systems are too primitive to reach us quickly," the aide suggested. "No. Our scans show they have decent technology. They should have responded by now." Then, with just 6 hours left in the deadline, a message arrived. But it didn't come from Earth. It came from a small research station orbiting the giant planet Jupiter. The station looked like it was made from spare parts and held together with hope. Zethkalar opened the message, expecting to find a frightened human leader begging for mercy. Instead, he found something completely different. "Hey there, Council folks, thanks for stopping by our solar system. We got your message about surrendering and all that. Sounds like you put a lot of work into it. Really professional stuff. But we're going to have to pass on your offer. We're pretty busy with our own projects right now. Also, you might want to move your ship. You're parked in a construction zone and we can't be responsible for any damage to your paint job. Have a great day." The humans. Zethkalar read the message 3 times. Then he had his computer check it for hidden codes or secret meanings. There were none. The humans had just said no, like it was nothing. "Sir, should we prepare the weapons?" his aide asked nervously. "No, not yet. Run a full scan of their system first. I want to know what we're dealing with." The scans began immediately. Zethkalar expected to find massive battle fleets hiding behind planets. He looked for secret weapons built into their moon. He searched for signs of the kind of military buildup that every smart species created when facing the Council. He found nothing. Earth had some small ships flying around near their planet. They had a few space stations that looked like research labs. There were some mining operations on asteroids that seemed focused on gathering resources for building things, not weapons. Everything looked peaceful and normal. "This makes no sense," Zethkalar muttered. "Where are their defenses?" "Maybe they're hiding them," the aide suggested. "From our scanners?" "Impossible. We can detect military technology from the other side of a galaxy." Zethkalar walked to the main viewing screen and stared at Earth again. The planet looked so small and helpless. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. It looked like a pleasant place to live, not like the home of a species brave enough to reject the Council's demands. "Sir, we're receiving another message," the communications officer announced. This one came from Earth itself, from what appeared to be a small office building in a human city. The message was even stranger than the first one. "Hi again. We noticed your ship hasn't moved yet. Just wanted to make sure you saw our warning about the construction zone. We're doing some major work out near Jupiter and things might get a bit messy. We'd hate for you to get caught up in it. Safety first. If you need directions to a safer parking spot, just let us know. We're happy to help. Human Space Traffic Control. Zethkalar felt his crystalline body dim with confusion. In 3,000 years of delivering surrender demands, no species had ever worried about his ship's safety. Most of them were too busy panicking about their own survival. What kind of construction could they possibly be doing that would threaten our ship? He wondered aloud. Should we investigate, sir? Yes. Send a probe toward their Jupiter. I want to know what they're up to. The probe launched and raced toward the giant planet. Within an hour, it began sending back data that made no sense at all. There were human ships near Jupiter, but they weren't acting like any military vessels Zethkalar had ever seen. Instead of preparing for battle, they seemed to be working, building something. But the readings were so strange that his computers couldn't figure out what it was. Sir, the probe is detecting massive energy readings near Jupiter, but the patterns don't match any known weapon systems. What do they match? Nothing in our database, sir. It's like they're using technology we've never seen before. Zethkalar stood silent for a long moment. Every instinct he had developed over thousands of years was telling him something was very wrong. Species didn't reject council demands unless they had secret weapons. But humans didn't seem to have any weapons at all. They just had projects. Sir, what are your orders? The aide asked quietly. Zethkalar looked at the surrender document in his hands. For the first time in his long career, he wasn't sure what to do next. The humans weren't acting scared. They weren't acting angry. They weren't even acting like they took the council seriously. They were acting like the most powerful military force in the galaxy was just a minor inconvenience. Open a channel to the council. Tell them we may need backup, he said finally. Sir? For one primitive planet? Zethkalar stared at Earth one more time. Something about this whole situation felt different, dangerous, but not in any way he understood. Trust me, he said. Something tells me these humans are going to be full of surprises. 3 days had passed since the humans rejected the council's surrender demand. Zethkalar had requested backup, but the council's response was predictable. They sent 3 heavy cruiser ships and clear orders. Make an example of Earth. Captain Forth commanded the lead cruiser. He was a veteran warrior from a species that looked like walking rocks with glowing eyes. His ships had conquered dozens of systems and reduced entire civilizations to ash. To him, humans were just another group of primitives who needed to learn their place in the galaxy. Ambassador Zethkalar, we're here to clean up your mess, Captain Vorth announced as his fleet dropped out of hyperspace. 3 ships should be more than enough to handle one backward planet. Captain, I recommend caution. These humans are unusual, Zethkalar warned. Vorth laughed, a sound like grinding stone. They all seem unusual until they see our weapons. Watch and learn. The 3 cruisers moved toward the red planet Mars, where human scanners showed some kind of mining operation. The facility looked small and undefended, perfect for a demonstration. Forth wanted to show the humans what happened when they refused the council's generous offers. Target the mining facility. Full power, Forth ordered. The weapons charged with a sound like thunder. Each cruiser carried enough firepower to level a mountain range. The combined blast would turn the human facility into dust and glass. It was meant to be a clear message. Surrender or watch your colonies burn. The energy beams struck the mining facility dead center. For a moment, everything happened exactly as expected. The building vanished in a brilliant white flash. Dust and debris shot up into the thin Martian atmosphere. It looked like a perfect demonstration of council power. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of silence and fear, a message arrived from the destroyed facility. The voice sounded cheerful and grateful. Hey there, council ships. Wow, thanks so much for the help. You just saved us about 6 months of demolition work on that old processing plant. We've been trying to clear that site for weeks. Your timing is perfect. Invoice for demolition services is attached. We accept most major galactic currencies. But Earth credits work fine too. Captain Vorth stared at his communication screen. What? Oh, and since you guys seem really good at precise energy work, would you be interested in helping with some other projects? We've got a whole list of stuff that needs blowing up. The pay is pretty good and we provide lunch. Seth Kalar watched from his ship as Vorth's rocky face turned several different colors. Captain, I tried to warn you. Silence, Vorth snapped. They're mocking us. Prepare to leave orbit. We'll report back to the council that alarms began blaring on all 3 cruiser ships at once. Vorth's navigation officer, a nervous creature with tentacles for arms, looked up from his controls with panic in all 6 of his eyes. Sir, the engines won't start. What do you mean they won't start? I mean they won't start, sir. Everything looks normal, but when I try to engage the drives, nothing happens. It's like something is holding us in place. Vorth tried his own controls. The engines hummed with power, but the ships didn't move. Not damaged, not broken, just stuck, like they were trapped in invisible chains. Another cheerful human voice came over the communications channel. This one sounded like a young woman eating something crunchy. Sorry about the parking restrictions, folks. Mars is currently a hard-hat construction zone during our terraforming project. Union regulations require all unauthorized vehicles to remain stationary during active operations. Don't worry, though. You're perfectly safe where you are. Terraforming? Vorth repeated. Mars is a dead rock. Not for much longer. We're running a bit behind schedule, but the environmental systems should be online in about, 2 or 3 centuries. Maybe 4, depending on how the atmospheric processors work out. You're welcome to wait it out if you want. We've got some great entertainment networks you can access while you're stuck there. Captain Vorth tried every system on his ship. Weapons, communications, life support, everything worked perfectly. Only the engines refused to function. His engineers ran diagnostics and found nothing wrong. The ships were simply being held in place by something their sensors couldn't detect. This is impossible, Vorth muttered. No species has technology that can disable our ships without us detecting it. Sir, maybe we should listen to their entertainment networks, one of his officers suggested nervously. Just to understand what we're dealing with? Vorth agreed, mainly because he was out of other options. The human entertainment signal was easy to access. It seemed to be some kind of educational program about engineering projects. What they saw made no sense at all. The program showed humans working on Mars, but not like any construction project the Council had ever seen. Workers in simple space suits were moving entire mountains by hand. Others were adjusting the planet's atmospheric composition using machines that looked like they were built in someone's garage. One group was actually redirecting the planet's magnetic field using what appeared to be a very large magnet and some copper wire. That's not possible, Vorth's science officer whispered. Moving a mountain requires massive equipment. Changing a planet's magnetic field should take thousands of years and technology we've never seen. Look at this next part, another officer said. The program switched to show humans working near Jupiter. They were doing something to the giant planet's moons, moving them around like a child arranging toys. One worker complained to another that the moons weren't in the right pattern for their gravity-focused project, so they just pushed them to new positions with what looked like small rocket packs. Sir, they're treating planetary engineering like home repair, the science officer said faintly. Another message arrived from the humans. This time it came with video of a human supervisor, wearing a hard hat and holding a clipboard. Behind him, workers were installing what appeared to be massive engines directly onto the surface of Mars. Hello again, Council friends. Just wanted to give you an update on our timeline. Good news is we're ahead of schedule on the magnetic field installation. Bad news is we're running a bit behind on the atmospheric work. Also, fair warning, we're about to test the new rotation adjustment system, so things might get a little bumpy. Nothing dangerous, just some minor earthquakes. Maybe magnitude 8 or 9 at most. The ground began shaking immediately. Through their viewports, the council crews could see the surface of Mars actually shifting, like the entire planet was being fine-tuned by someone with very big tools. Captain Vorth sat in his command chair, trying to understand what he was seeing. These humans weren't just mining Mars. They were rebuilding it from scratch. and they were doing it with technology that treated the laws of physics like gentle suggestions. "Ambassador," he called to Zethkalar's ship, "how long have humans had this technology?" "According to our intelligence, they've had spaceflight for less than a century," Zethkalar replied. "But clearly our intelligence was wrong." Another human voice came over the communications, this one belonging to someone who sounded very old and patient. "Council ships, this is Mars Traffic Control. We've got you registered as temporary parking until our work is done. If you need anything while you wait, just ask. We've got spare air, food, entertainment, whatever you need. No charge. Consider it professional courtesy from one spacefaring species to another." Captain Vorth looked at his crew. Every one of them was staring at the screens showing humans casually rearranging an entire planet's geology. "Sir," his communications officer asked quietly, "what should we tell the council?" Vorth thought about it for a long moment. How could he explain that they'd been defeated not by weapons, but by construction workers? How could he report that humans treated impossible engineering projects like weekend hobbies? "Tell them we need more ships," he said finally. "A lot more ships." Fleet Admiral Korvash had conquered 70 star systems in his long military career. He had faced desperate last stands, hidden superweapons, and the fury of entire civilizations fighting for survival. None of that had prepared him for the humans. 200 ships, he muttered, reviewing his fleet roster. The largest battle group in Council history, sent to deal with one backward planet. The Council had been furious when Captain Vorth reported that his ships were being held hostage by construction workers. They'd demanded immediate action. Korvash's orders were simple: eliminate all human space presence and prepare Earth for invasion. No more warnings, no more demonstrations, just overwhelming force. "Sir, we're ready to jump to the human system," his tactical officer reported. "Execute jump, all ships, weapons ready upon arrival." 200 warships tore through hyperspace toward Earth. Each ship was a masterpiece of military engineering, carrying enough firepower to sterilize a continent. The combined fleet could reduce entire planets to cosmic dust. Surely no species, no matter how clever, could stand against such power. They dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, weapons charging, shields at maximum. Korvash expected to see human ships fleeing in terror, or perhaps a desperate last stand around their home planet. Instead, he saw something that made no sense at all. The solar system had been rearranged. Where there used to be empty space and scattered asteroids, now there were organized patterns of energy and matter. Jupiter's moons were no longer in random orbits. They'd been moved into a perfect geometric pattern that pulsed with power. Saturn's famous rings had been converted into what appeared to be the largest particle accelerator in known space, stretching millions of miles in perfect circles. "What have they done?" Korvash whispered. His science officer, a brilliant creature with a brain the size of a small moon, ran scans of the system. The readings made him question everything he knew about physics. "Sir, they've turned their entire solar system into some kind of machine. I can't even begin to understand what it does." Everywhere they looked, there were humans working, not frantically preparing for war, but calmly going about their business with the efficiency of people, following a construction schedule. Workers in simple spacesuits were installing massive equipment on asteroids. Others were adjusting the orbits of entire planets using machines that looked like they'd been built in someone's backyard. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced. A middle-aged human woman appeared on the screen. She was wearing a simple uniform with a name tag that read, "Sarah, Project Manager." Behind her, other humans were working on what appeared to be a machine, the size of a small moon. "Hello there, Council Fleet. Welcome to the Sol Construction Consortium. I'm Sarah, and I'll be your customer service representative today. First off, congratulations on assembling such an impressive fleet. Must have taken a lot of planning and coordination." Admiral Korvash tried to speak, but Sarah continued cheerfully. "Now we've got you all registered for our premium parking service. Don't worry about finding spaces. We've got designated areas for everyone. Please remain in your current positions while we finish up some light stellar engineering. Estimated completion time is, well, whenever we feel like it, really." You will surrender immediately, Corvash finally managed to shout. We have 200 warships. Oh, we saw those. Very nice designs. Classic stuff. Really brings back memories of the old days. Speaking of which, thanks for bringing so much concentrated energy to our system. We were running a bit low on power for the next phase of construction. Before Corvash could ask what she meant, every ship in his fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by a sphere of what appeared to be crystallized space. Not a force field or energy shield, but actual manipulated reality, wrapped around each vessel like a soap bubble. What is this? He demanded. Oh, that's just our standard safety protocol, Sarah explained, consulting a clipboard. We're doing some pretty heavy work out here, and we'd hate for anyone to get hurt. Those containment fields will keep you safe from any stray gravitational waves or reality fluctuations. Corvash tried to fire his weapons. The targeting systems worked perfectly, but when he pulled the trigger, nothing happened. The energy went somewhere, just not out of his ship. I see you found the energy collection system, Sarah said, noticing his confusion. Yeah, we're harvesting the power from your weapons to run some of our bigger projects. Hope you don't mind. We'll make sure to put it to good use. On the main screen, Corvash watched in horror as his fleet's own weapon energy was being channeled through impossible machinery toward Saturn. The great rings around the planet began spinning faster, and space itself seemed to bend around them. What are you doing to our weapons? He asked weakly. Well, you guys brought us about 17 trillion watts of concentrated energy, Sarah said, checking her notes. That's just enough to power the orbital mechanics adjuster we've been working on. Watch this. She pointed toward a small moon orbiting Saturn. A beam of energy, powered by the Council fleet's own weapons, reached out and gently moved the moon to a new position. Just like that. Like someone rearranging furniture. We've been trying to optimize the gravitational efficiency of this system for months, Sarah continued. Your timing is perfect. With this much free energy, we can probably get the whole project done by next Tuesday. This is impossible, Corvash muttered. No species has technology that can manipulate matter and energy on this scale. Oh, this isn't that hard once you figure out the basic principles? Sarah said modestly. The tricky part was getting the mathematics right. Turns out the universe runs on pretty simple rules once you know what they are. Around the fleet, more human workers appeared. They moved between the trapped ships like maintenance crews, examining the Council vessels with professional interest. Some of them waved cheerfully at the crews inside. Sir, his science officer whispered, they're not treating us like enemies. They're treating us like equipment. It was true. The humans showed no fear, no anger, no respect for the massive military force that had come to destroy them. They acted like the Council fleet was just another tool that had arrived at the right time to help with their project, Sarah, Admiral Corvash said, trying to keep his voice steady. What do you want from us? Want from you? Oh, nothing really. You're free to go anytime you like. Well, anytime after we finish using your ship's energy output for the stellar engineering project. Shouldn't take more than a few decades. Decades? Maybe less if we work efficiently. Depends on how cooperative your power systems are. Don't worry, though. We'll take good care of you while you're here. Full life support, entertainment networks, even some of our famous Earth pizza if you're interested. Corvash looked around at his massive fleet, the pride of the Galactic Council's military. 200 ships capable of conquering entire civilizations, now serving as battery packs for human construction projects. This isn't warfare, he said quietly. This is engineering, Sarah suggested helpfully. Yeah, that's mostly what we do these days. Lots of interesting problems to solve out here in space. Thanks for volunteering to help. As if to prove her point, a group of human workers began installing what appeared to be improved energy collectors on his flagship's hull. They worked with the casual efficiency of people who had done this job 1,000 times before. Admiral Corvash, conqueror of 70 worlds, sat back in his command chair and tried to understand how his entire battle fleet had just become part of a human construction project. Sir, his tactical officer asked quietly, should we call for backup? Corvash thought about trying to explain the situation to the Council. How could he tell them that humanity hadn't defeated his fleet through superior weapons, but by treating them like useful appliances? No, he said finally. I don't think more ships would help. Ambassador Zethkalar had seen enough. 2 weeks had passed since Admiral Korvash's fleet had been converted into construction equipment, and the Council was demanding answers. As the senior diplomat in the human system, it was his job to find out what humanity actually was and what they wanted. I demand a face-to-face meeting with your leadership, he transmitted to Earth. The response came back within minutes, cheerful as always. Sure thing. We'd love to chat. Sending coordinates now. Fair warning though, the meeting spot is a bit of a construction zone. Wear something comfortable. Zethkalar expected to be directed to Earth, to some impressive capital city or military command center. Instead, the coordinates led him to what his sensors insisted was empty space near the ice planet Neptune. His shuttle approached the coordinates carefully. At first he saw nothing but the usual darkness of deep space. Then his pilot, a skilled navigator with excellent eyes, pointed at something impossible. Sir, there's something there. My instruments say it's empty space, but I can see structure. Zethkalar adjusted his sensors to their highest sensitivity. Slowly, an image began to form that made his crystalline body dim with shock. The space wasn't empty. It was full of the largest artificial structure he had ever seen. It was a sphere, but not like any space station or habitat he knew. This sphere was the size of a small planet, and it appeared to be built around something that bent light and space in ways that hurt to look at directly. Energy flowed around and through the structure in patterns that seemed to follow mathematical rules his science couldn't explain. Is that? His pilot began. A Dyson sphere, Zethkalar finished. Built around a black hole. Human workers in simple spacesuits floated around the massive construction, some of them operating on sections larger than entire cities. They worked with the same casual efficiency he'd observed throughout the solar system, as if building planet-sized structures around collapsed stars was just another Tuesday for them. One of the workers noticed his shuttle and waved cheerfully before activating a communication device. Hey there. You must be Ambassador Zethkalar. We've been expecting you. Docking Bay 7 is open and ready. Watch out for the gravitational flux near the event horizon. It's a bit bumpy today. Zethkalar's shuttle was guided through an opening in the sphere that was larger than most space stations. Inside, he found corridors and chambers that seemed to stretch on forever, all of them filled with humans working on projects he couldn't begin to understand. He was met by Dr. Sarah Chen, a woman in her 50s wearing a white lab coat over a casual shirt. Her shirt had words on it that his translator rendered as, I survived the Kardashev scale transition and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. Welcome to Neptune Station, Dr. Chen said, offering him a steaming cup of something that smelled pleasant. Coffee? It's from Earth. We've got the best coffee in the galaxy, hands down. Dr. Chen, I need to understand what's happening here. Your species has technologies that shouldn't exist. You're treating the Galactic Council like a minor inconvenience. What do you want? Dr. Chen led him through corridors where humans worked, on machines that seemed to manipulate the basic forces of reality. Some were adjusting gravity fields with simple tools. Others were apparently fine-tuning the rate of time itself in different sections of the station. That's a fair question, she said, sipping her coffee. The thing is, Ambassador, we've known about the Galactic Council for quite a while. That's impossible. We would have detected any observation. Oh, we weren't spying or anything like that. We just figured out you existed. See, when you really understand physics, you can calculate a lot of things. Like how many civilizations should exist in a galaxy this size, what their technology levels would be, how they'd organize themselves. The council was pretty predictable, mathematically speaking. They entered a vast chamber where humans were working on something that Zethkalar's mind couldn't quite process. It looked like they were building a machine to manufacture new space. The real issue, Dr. Chen continued, is that your council has been having the same conversation with civilizations for millions of years. Same technology, same tactics, same threats. You've been playing the same game over and over. It works, Zethkalar said defensively. Species submit to council authority. Sure, because they're all at roughly the same technological level as you are. They're impressed by your ships and weapons because those represent the peak of what they think is possible. But we've been solving different problems. They stopped at a viewing window that looked out into space. Through it, Zethkalar could see human workers doing something to nearby stars. They appeared to be adjusting the nuclear fusion process inside the stars themselves, fine-tuning them like someone tuning a musical instrument. "What problems?" he asked weakly. "The big ones," Dr. Chen said simply. "Entropy, the heat death of the universe. The fact that matter and energy are finite. The way causality works. Basic stuff like that. Those aren't problems to be solved. They're fundamental laws of physics." "Are they?" Dr. Chen smiled and pointed out the window. "See that star over there? The red one? It was dying when we found it. Now it's going to burn steadily for another 1,000,000,000 years. We fixed it last month, during our lunch break." Zethkalar watched human workers floating near the star, making adjustments to something inside it using tools that looked like they'd been built in a garage. The star's color shifted from dying red to healthy yellow as he watched. "You're rewriting the laws of physics," he said. "Not rewriting, just debugging. The universe is a pretty amazing system, but it's got some inefficiencies. We're just cleaning up the code a bit." They walked deeper into the station, past laboratories where humans were apparently growing new types of matter, workshops where they built machines that folded space like paper, and break rooms where they sat around discussing improvements to the fundamental constants of reality. "The Council demands that Earth surrender," Zethkalar said, though the words felt hollow now. "I know. And we appreciate the offer, really. It's very thoughtful of you to worry about our independence and all. But here's the thing." Dr. Chen stopped walking and turned to face him directly. "We're not trying to conquer anyone. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy or imposing our will on other species. We just want to be left alone to work on our projects." "What kind of projects?" "Well, right now we're working on fixing entropy. After that, we're thinking about expanding the universe a bit, maybe adding some extra dimensions, see how that works out. Long term, we're hoping to prevent the heat death scenario entirely. Keep the lights on permanently." Zethkalar looked around at the humans working calmly on impossible projects. They treated the fundamental structure of reality like a home improvement project. "Your species has transcended everything we understand about physics and technology," he said slowly. "You could destroy the Council without effort." "We could," Dr. Chen agreed. "But why would we want to? You guys aren't bothering anyone." "Well, except for all the demands for surrender. But that's more of a communication problem than anything serious." "Then what do you propose?" Dr. Chen smiled and handed him a document that appeared to be printed on regular paper, despite being inside a station that manipulated black holes for power. "A counter-proposal," she said. "Earth's terms for galactic peace." Zethkalar looked at the document. It was surprisingly short and written in simple language that his translator had no trouble with. "You want to be left alone to continue your experiments," he read. "In exchange, you'll provide technological assistance to solve major galactic problems. No cost, no strings attached. Think of us as the universe's IT department," Dr. Chen said with a grin that was somehow both friendly and terrifying. "We'll keep the lights on and make sure the physics keeps working properly. In return, you don't bother us while we're renovating." Through the window, Zethkalar could see human workers beginning what appeared to be an adjustment to the rotation of the entire galaxy. They approached the task with the same casual confidence they'd shown while fixing dying stars. "I'll take this proposal to the Council," he said finally. "Great. Take your time thinking it over. We're not going anywhere. Well, except maybe to other galaxies if this project works out. But that's still in the planning stages." As his shuttle left Neptune Station, Zethkalar tried to figure out how to explain to the Council that humanity had offered to maintain the universe in exchange for being left alone to improve it. It seemed like a reasonable deal, all things considered. The great chamber of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 10,000 worlds filled the massive space with the sounds of panic, confusion, and desperate debate. Some called for immediate retreat from human space. Others demanded a full military response with every ship in the galaxy. A few suggested simply pretending Earth didn't exist and hoping the humans would ignore them in return. High Counselor Vrexthul, an ancient being who had guided the council for over 2,000 years, tried to restore order. His voice, amplified by technology that could be heard across star systems, boomed through the chamber. Silence. We are here to decide how to respond to the human proposal. The debate had been raging for 3 days. Ambassador Zethkeller had delivered humanity's counter-proposal, along with his detailed report about their impossible technology. Most council members simply couldn't accept what they were hearing. "It's a trick," shouted Representative Kolndar from the militaristic hegemony worlds. "No species develops that level of technology without conquering their neighbors first." "Then explain Admiral Korvash's fleet." Vrexthul replied calmly. 200 ships, converted into construction equipment without firing a single shot in return. "Explain the reports from our observation posts," added Councillor Ythray. "Dying stars restored to health overnight. Failed terraforming projects completed while we debated. Ancient technological problems solved by human consultants who appear from nowhere, fix everything and disappear." The chamber erupted in arguments again. Then something impossible happened. A human woman materialized in the center of the council chamber, not transported by any technology they could detect, not projected as a hologram. She simply stepped through what appeared to be folded space, as casually as walking through a door. Security systems that should have detected any intrusion remained silent. Weapons that should have targeted any threat stayed dormant. "Hello, everyone," the woman said cheerfully. "I'm Ambassador Torres. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was murder coming through the Andromeda wormhole." The chamber fell completely silent. 10,000 representatives from across the galaxy stared at the small human woman standing calmly in their most secure meeting place. "How did you get in here?" High Counselor Vrexthul demanded. "Walk through the wall," Torres replied, as if this was the most natural thing in the galaxy. Neat trick with the space folding, by the way. Very efficient design. We might borrow some ideas for our own projects. "This chamber is protected by technology that has never been breached." "Well, never been breached by anyone using normal physics," Torres corrected. "We've been using abnormal physics for a while now. Much more flexible." She looked around the vast chamber with genuine interest. "Wow, this place is huge. Must be a nightmare to heat in the winter. Good thing you've got that stellar fusion tap running under the foundation." "Smart engineering." Representative Kolndar stood up, his weapon systems charging. "You will surrender immediately or face the combined might of—" He stopped mid-sentence as his weapons simply stopped working. Not damaged, not disabled, just gently convinced to do something else instead. "Oh, sorry about that," Torres said. "Your guns were interfering with my presentation equipment. They should work fine once I'm done here. Now let's talk business." She waved her hand, and holographic displays appeared throughout the chamber, showing real-time images from across the galaxy. Council members watched in amazement as the displays showed human teams working on projects throughout their territories. "As you can see, we've been busy," Torres continued, "stabilizing that collapsing star system in the outer rim, fixing the ecological disaster on Kepler 442, upgrading the atmospheric processors on about 600 colony worlds. Oh, and we took care of that black hole that was threatening the trade routes near Centauri. No charge for any of it, by the way." "Why?" Vrexthul asked simply. "Because we could. Because they needed help. Because fixing things is what we do." Torres smiled. "Look, we know this is all pretty overwhelming. A few months ago you thought you were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Now you've found out there's a species that treats universal constants like household appliances that need occasional maintenance. The displays changed to show human workers doing exactly that. Some were adjusting the gravitational constant in a nearby star system to make the planets more habitable. Others were fine-tuning the speed of light in a region where faster communication would help isolated colonies. The thing is, Torres continued, we're not interested in ruling anyone. Politics is boring, conquest is boring, bureaucracy is really boring. You know what's not boring? Figuring out how to prevent the heat death of the universe. Building better, physics, Finding out what's in the space between galaxies. What do you want from us? Vrexthul asked. Nothing, really. Just don't bother us while we work. In return, we'll keep fixing the big problems that come up. Think of it as a maintenance contract for the galaxy. Representative Ythray, the Council's most respected scientist, spoke up nervously. What you're describing? Maintaining entire galactic systems. It should be impossible. Lots of things are impossible until someone does them, Torres replied. Your ancestors probably thought space travel was impossible. Flying was impossible. Fire was probably pretty confusing when they first figured it out. The displays changed again, now showing the scope of human projects throughout the galaxy. Dying civilizations were receiving anonymous gifts of advanced technology. Failed colonies were finding their environmental problems mysteriously solved. Ancient ruins were being quietly restored by workers who appeared from nowhere and vanished, just as quickly. You've been doing this for how long? Vrexthul asked. Oh, a few decades now. Started small, just fixing things in our own solar system. But you know how it is with home improvement projects. You fix one thing and you notice 3 more things that need work. Pretty soon you're renovating the whole neighborhood. The chamber buzzed with quiet conversations as council members tried to process what they were hearing. Some were calculating the economic value of the human assistance. Others were trying to understand the technology involved. A few were simply staring at Torres with the expression of people whose entire understanding of reality had just been proven inadequate. There will be a vote, Vrexthul announced finally. All in favor of accepting the human proposal? The vote was unanimous. Even Representative Kolndar, still confused about why his weapons had stopped working, raised his hand in agreement. Excellent. Torres clapped her hands together. I'll let the folks back home know it's official. Oh, and don't worry about the paperwork. We've already filed all the necessary forms with your bureaucracy. Backdated them too, just to keep everything legal. When did you? Vrexthul began. About 6 months ago. We're pretty good at predicting how these things will turn out. Comes with understanding probability on a quantum level. As Torres prepared to leave, walking toward what appeared to be empty space but was probably some kind of dimensional doorway, Vrexthul called out to her, Ambassador Torres, one final question. What happens if we change our minds? What if the Council decides it wants to revoke this agreement? Torres paused and turned back with a smile that was both patient and slightly terrifying. High Counselor, we just prevented your son from going supernova next Tuesday. We fixed the dark matter cascade that would have destroyed this entire sector next year. We're currently holding together the fabric of space-time in about 40 different locations where it was getting a bit frayed around the edges. She gestured casually at the displays, which now showed a real-time map of ongoing human maintenance projects throughout the galaxy. Changing your minds isn't really an option anymore, but don't worry about it. We're very good at our jobs. With that, she stepped through folded space and vanished, leaving behind only the faint scent of coffee and the sound of 10,000 civilizations trying to figure out their new place in a universe maintained by beings who treated impossible as a starting point rather than a barrier. High Counselor Vrexthul looked around the chamber at his fellow council members. Many of them were already receiving updates from their homeworlds about miraculous improvements to infrastructure, mysterious gifts of technology, and problems solved by friendly human consultants. I suppose, he said quietly, we should send them a thank you note. Somewhere near Neptune, Dr. Sarah Chen was back at her workstation, sipping coffee while casually adjusting the fundamental constants that held the local galactic cluster together. Her assistant walked over with a concerned expression. Sarah, the council meeting went well, but I'm worried they might cause trouble later. Some of those species are pretty stubborn. Nah, Sarah said, not looking up from her work on the cosmic structure itself. They're good people. They'll adapt. Besides, we've got bigger things to worry about. Like what? Sarah gestured to a display, showing the universe itself. The vast web of matter and energy that connected all galaxies like a cosmic nervous system. Warning indicators were flashing in several locations. The universe's warranty is about to expire. Time for some major preventive maintenance. I'm thinking we start with expanding the available dimensions. Maybe add some backup systems for causality. Oh,